The koala's journey into existence is nothing short of nightmarish. Imagine being born the size of a jelly bean, barely 2 centimeters long, weighing less than a gram, completely blind, deaf, and hairless. You emerge into the world as little more than a pink, translucent embryo with stubby limbs and oversized claws. There's no crying, no mother's gentle guidance. Instead, you must immediately embark on the most perilous journey of your life, a desperate, instinctive crawl through a forest of fur toward your mother's pouch. This journey, though only about 7 centimeters, is proportionally equivalent to a human infant crawling the length of a football field. You navigate entirely by smell and touch, dragging your underdeveloped body through what must feel like an endless wilderness. One wrong turn means death. There are no second chances, no rescue missions. Your mother won't help you. She can't. She simply sits still and waits to see if you'll make it. If you survive this gauntlet, your reward is equally grim. You crawl into a pouch that's essentially a bacteria-filled incubator. Here, you'll latch onto one of 2 teats and remain attached for the next 6 months, growing in what can only be described as a warm, dark prison. The pouch itself is far from the cozy nursery it appears to be from the outside. It's moist, filled with maternal waste products, and offers no protection from the diseases that commonly plague koala copulations. Chlamydia, a bacterial infection that causes blindness, infertility, and excruciating urinary tract infections, often passes from mother to joey in these intimate confines.
Your only food, eucalyptus, is barely edible poison. As you grow and eventually peek out from the pouch, you face an even more disturbing reality. Your entire diet will consist of one of the most nutritionally bankrupt and toxic foods on Earth, eucalyptus leaves. These leaves aren't just poor in nutrients, they're actively trying to kill you. Eucalyptus trees evolved their toxicity as a defense mechanism against herbivores. The leaves contained phenolic compounds, tannins, and toxic oils that would be lethal to most mammals. The cyanogenic glycosides in eucalyptus can break down into cyanide in an animal's digestive system. For any sensible creature, these leaves scream, "Do not eat." But koalas, through millions of years of questionable evolutionary decisions, committed themselves to this poisonous diet. To make matters worse, eucalyptus leaves contain so little nutritional value that they provide barely enough energy to sustain basic bodily functions. A typical eucalyptus leaf is about 50% water, 18% fiber, and contains less than 5% protein. The caloric content is devastatingly low, roughly 2,000 kilojoules per kilogram of leaves, compared to the 6,000 to 10,000 kilojoules found in the diets of other herbivores. Before you can even begin eating these toxic leaves as a young joey, you must undergo one of nature's most revolting rituals, consuming pap, a specialized form of your mother's feces. This isn't ordinary waste, it's nutrient-rich slurry conduced specifically to transfer the gut bacteria you'll need to digest eucalyptus toxins. Without this bacterial transfer, you die from the very food you're meant to eat. So you spend weeks feeding on your mother's fecal matter, building up the microbial army in your digestive system that will allow you to process poison for the rest of your life. You sleep 20 hours to digest enough to stay alive. The eucalyptus diet doesn't just fail to nourish you adequately, it demands an extraordinary metabolic toll. Your digestive system must work overtime to extract even minimal nutrition from these toxic leaves while simultaneously neutralizing their poisonous compounds. This process is so energy intensive that you have no choice but to adopt one of the most sedentary lifestyles in the animal kingdom. You sleep, or more accurately remain in a semi-conscious stupor, for 18 to 22 hours every single day. This isn't the peaceful, restorative sleep of well-fed creatures, it's a metabolic shutdown, a conservation mode that your body enters because it simply doesn't have the energy for anything else. Your liver works constantly to detoxify the phenolic compounds and terpenes from the eucalyptus. Your enlarged cecum, a specialized fermentation chamber in your digestive tract, processes leaves for days to extract every possible calorie. During your brief waking hours, perhaps 2 to 4 hours daily, you must eat. You consume between 200 to 500 grams of eucalyptus leaves each night, carefully selecting from the few species of eucalyptus that are marginally less toxic than others. Of the over 600 species of eucalyptus trees, koalas can only eat from about 30 of them. And even then, you show strong preferences for perhaps a dozen species. You must be selective because choosing the wrong leaves could overwhelm even your specialized digestive system with toxins. This cycle, eat, digest, sleep, repeat, defines your entire existence. There's no play, no social interaction beyond mating, no curiosity or exploration. You simply cling to a tree branch, munching poisonous leaves in the dark, then return to your comatose state while your body struggles to extract enough energy to survive another day.
Your brain shrank from lack of energy, and you forget where to eat. The eucalyptus diet has extracted perhaps the cruelest toll of all. It has literally shrunk your brain. Koalas possess one of the smallest brain-to-body mass ratios of any mammal. Your brain weighs only about 19.2 grams and occupies roughly 61% of your cranial cavity. The remaining 40% is filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Essentially, your skull is partially empty. This wasn't always the case. Fossil evidence suggests that ancestral koalas had much larger, more complex brains. But as your species committed increasingly to the eucalyptus diet over millions of years, maintaining a large, energy-hungry brain became unsustainable. The brain is one of the most metabolically expensive organs, consuming about 20% of the body's energy in most mammals. With eucalyptus providing so few calories, evolution made a brutal calculation. Intelligence had to go. The cognitive consequences are profound and tragic. You lack the problem-solving abilities of most mammals. You struggle to recognize eucalyptus leaves when they're presented on a flat surface rather than on a branch. The context change is simply too much for your diminished brain to process. You have difficulty adapting to new situations or learning from experience. Some researchers have observed that when presented with a pile of eucalyptus leaves on a plate, koalas will sometimes refuse to eat them, unable to recognize them as food outside their usual context. Your spatial memory is particularly limited. You may return to the same feeding tree out of routine, but if that tree is cut down or dies, you struggle to find alternatives, even when suitable trees exist nearby. You can essentially forget where to eat, wandering aimlessly until you find food by chance or die from starvation. This cognitive limitation makes you particularly vulnerable in a changing environment. Fires, disease, and deforestation turn your home to ash. Your already miserable existence faces increasingly catastrophic external threats. The 2019-2020 Australian bushfire season, the worst in recorded history, killed an estimated 60,000 koalas, with some populations decimated by over 80%. Fire doesn't just kill koalas directly, it destroys the specific eucalyptus trees you depend on, leaving survivors in a barren landscape without food. Your limited mobility and cognitive abilities make you particularly vulnerable to fire. You can't run. You can't quickly assess danger and escape. When fire approaches, you typically climb higher in your tree, moving directly toward the flames, or simply remain motionless, hoping the danger will pass. Many koalas are found burned alive, still clinging to the charred remains of their eucalyptus trees. Even without fire, disease ravages your populations. Chlamydia infects up to 50 to 90% of koalas in some regions, causing blindness, infertility, and painful deaths. The disease can make urination agonizing and eating difficult. Infected females often become sterile, and populations slowly collapse as breeding rates plummet. Koala retrovirus, or CORV, similar to HIV in humans, compromises immune systems and increases susceptibility to other diseases. Habitat loss from deforestation and urban development fragments your already limited range.
Australia loses approximately 3,000 to 6,000 koalas each year to vehicle strikes and dog attacks as urban sprawl pushes into koala territory. Your slow movement and poor eyesight make you easy targets for cars. When forced to cross roads to reach new feeding trees, you become roadkill, a tragic end to a life already defined by hardship. Climate change threatens the eucalyptus forests themselves. Rising temperatures and changing rainfall patterns stress eucalyptus trees, reducing the nutritional quality of their leaves even further. Some eucalyptus species may disappear entirely from parts of their current range, leaving koala populations without food sources they've depended on for millions of years. Behind every cute face lies nature's quiet cruelty. The koala's appearance is perhaps nature's cruelest deception. Those round, fluffy ears designed to look endearing, that button nose that seems made for photographs, those eyes that appear sleepy and content rather than reflecting the reality of cognitive impairment and exhaustion. Evolution has wrapped profound suffering in an adorable package, and humans have responded by making koalas into icons. Stuffed toys, tourism mascots, symbols of Australian wildlife, while the animals themselves endure lives of quiet desperation. The koala represents an evolutionary dead end, a species that made a catastrophically bad dietary choice millions of years ago and has been paying the price ever since. Every aspect of their biology, from their birth to their death, reflects the consequences of specializing in a food source that barely sustains life. They're living proof that evolution doesn't optimize for happiness or well-being. It merely selects for whatever manages to reproduce before dying. Behind that cute face is an animal born too early, raised on toxic poison, cognitively impaired by malnutrition, disease-ridden, and facing extinction from environmental catastrophes they're too dim-witted to escape. The koala doesn't suffer nobly or with any greater purpose. It simply exists in a state of perpetual hardship, generation after generation, because evolution trapped it in an ecological prison with no exit. When you see a koala cling to a tree, looking peaceful and adorable, remember, you're witnessing an animal in survival mode, not contentment. That's not a smile. It's the face of a creature whose brain doesn't have enough energy to process its own misery. Nature didn't design the koala's cuteness for our enjoyment. It's merely a coincidental arrangement of features that masks one of the animal kingdom's most unfortunate existences. The koala teaches us that nature is neither kind nor cruel. It simply is. And sometimes being simply is enough to make life a continuous trial of suffering, dressed up in a deceptively cuddly package.